Hi boys and girls, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Mrs. Feustel and we're going to learn more about poetry and personification. And your learning target, I will be able to identify and explain uses of personification in poetry, and personification is just another tool in that figurative language toolbox that writers and poets will use. You will need your reader's notebook and a pencil. Today we will be focusing on personification and giving human qualities to animals or objects, like, for example, the stars winked at me. That's an example of personification. Before we watch this YouTube video, I want you to get out a notebook and a pencil, and I want you to write down at least 2 examples of personification used in this video. So you're going to write down at least 2 examples of personification presented in this video.
Did you know that if you have a dingy, dirty shower door and bathtub, scale built up on the inside of your
personification, making something come alive with the words that you provide in situations. Personification, take something that you're saying and it acts just like a person. The flowers danced in the wind, but they don't dance even if they had the chance, but they move together like a dancer with a partner. It's a nice way of saying what the flowers were doing today.
All right, so boys and girls, if you didn't get that down, that's an excellent example of personification. The flowers danced in the wind. Remember, write down a couple more examples of good personification.
Personification, making something come alive with the words that you provide in situations. Personification, take something that you're saying and it acts just like a person. The city I live in never sleeps.
Ooh, another good example. Write that down. The city I live in never sleeps. Ha! Cities can't sleep, but it gives us an idea of what the city is like. If it never sleeps, there must be people awake and it's busy and cars driving all night long. Excellent.
But who would have said that the city goes to bed? And I think you'll agree how big that bed would be. And it's a way to write down that there's always some people around. The wind sang through the trees, means that there was a breeze. The clock screams in my ear, the time to wake up is here. The sun smiled down at me, a good day it's gonna be. This gray sweater is my friend, I guess I look good again. Personification, making something come alive with the words that you provide in situations. Personification, take something that you're saying and it acts just like a person. Take something that you're saying and it acts just like a person.
All right, boys and girls, I hope you got a few of these written down, or a couple of them at least, in your notebook. Examples of personification. The clock screamed in my ear, the wind sang through the trees, the city I live in never sleeps, the flowers danced in the wind. All excellent examples of personification. Just before April came. We're going to look at this poem a little closely, or look at this poem closely, and try to identify examples of personification. So just before April came. Right away I'm thinking about that time of the year, right before April, and we're transitioning from winter to spring, and how in the winter it's cold and it's silent and there's not a lot happening, and then all of a sudden in April you kind of see a little more life around you. Maybe the grass is turning green and you hear the birds and the bugs, and it just seems to be slowly becoming more alive and busy. All right, so follow along as I read. Just before April came. The snow piles in dark places are gone. Pools by the railroad tracks shine clear. The gravel of all shallow places shines. A white pigeon reels and somersaults. Frogs plutter and scudge, and frogs beat the air with a recurring thin steel sliver of melody. Crows go in 5s and 10s. They march their black feathers past a blue pool. They celebrate an old festival. A spider is trying his webs. A pink bug sits on my hand, washing his forelegs. I might ask, who are these people? So what is the title? Just Before April Came. How many lines are in the poem? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 lines. How many stanzas? Well, stanzas are like paragraphs, but in poetry. And there are 4 stanzas here. 4, there you go. And what is the main idea? Well, the main idea for me, the main idea of this poem is the transition from winter to spring, and how it's from quiet to busy, and things are coming alive again in the spring, the change of season. I really thought about this as I looked at this line. The spider is trying his webs. A pink bug sits on my hand, washing his forelegs. And then back up here, they march their black feathers past a blue pool. What point of view is this poem, first or third? Well, if it's first person, you'll often see pronouns like I or me, and it's told from one person's point of view. So in this case, I noticed that there were 2 pronouns, I and my, and so that indicated that the poem is indeed written in first person. And there is no rhyme scheme pattern because it's free verse, so we can move forward from there. So what I want you to do right now is pause the video and think about, after listening to these 5 questions, and write your thoughts down. Where and when does this poem take place? What is happening in it? What does the poet say a white pigeon does? Do birds really do this? And how does this help you picture the action? And based on the context and sound, what might plutter and scudge mean? What do the crows do that humans do? What do you think might their old festival might be? And number 5, why do you think the poet refers to the animals as people in the last line? Pause the video here and reflect. Boys and girls, let's take some time to identify examples of personification in the poem, and hopefully when you were reflecting you saw those examples, or maybe as I was reading you noticed some examples of personification. One example is a white pigeon rears and somersaults. Pigeons do not really do somersaults, but sometimes people do when they are really excited or happy. And the author is comparing the excited pigeon to an excited person. Crows go in 5s and 10s. They march their black feathers past a blue pool. They celebrate an old festival. Crows do not really march. The author is comparing a group of crows standing together like a group of people marching. A pink bug sits on my hand, washing his forelegs. A spider does not really wash his legs, but people might. All of this kind of helps give the tone and the mood, or helps the tone or the mood set that by just giving that example of excitement and busyness. It's a change of season, things are we're coming up coming out of maybe a hard winter, and it's quiet and dark and cold, and now we're moving into warmer weather, color, and just an excitement for a change of pace. All right, so I would like you today, your assignment is to go to the Google Classroom to take the Just Before April Came quiz, and that will be posted for you today. And while you're reading today during IDR, I want you to use part of your, or a portion of your IDR time to read some poetry. And I want you to identify the number of lines and stanzas, find a rhyme scheme, notice what is the main idea, or maybe the point of view in the poems that you are reading. Have fun. Thank you so much, boys and girls, for joining me. I appreciate your hard work. Have a great day.